Now, when 1710 came, here's the main point of my talk today. 1710 did something that is totally devastating. Totally devastating. The Virginia colony in 17 passed what they call meritorious manumission. Meritorious manumission says, what we're going to do now that we put up the external controls in 1705, we must have internal controls. We don't have the time to go around and monitor and watch all these black folk coming into this country. We must build in some kind of internal management control. We must build in a way like the Rodney King syndrome, that kind of thing. We must build into black folk an inappropriate behavior pattern. We must teach black folk to see things upside down in an unrealistic manner. And what they did very systematically was like taking glasses and painting pictures on it upside down. And we found out in laboratories in sociology and psychology that even if you paint the world upside down for a person to put glasses on their eyes, we found that the subjects can learn to live upside down. They learn how to adjust, learn how to adjust their reach and what they're doing. We watched it over and over again in experiments with young people in school. We paint the pictures upside down and say, what do you see? And the mind has the ability to flip things back over to where the reality becomes the unreal. That the unreal becomes the reality. And once you do that, you got your people nailed to the wall. So meritorious manumission came into effect in 1710 and says, we will reward, we will recognize, we will set free any black person does one of four things. One, if you in fact will save a white person's life. I told you about the young man on the boat with the eagle, 5, 6 years before that. If you save a white person's life, you will get your freedom. 2, if you protect a white person's property. 3, if you invent something that a white person can make wealth and power off of, some kind of an invention. And 4, if you in fact will squeal on, inform on, or tell on your own people. That was called meritorious manumission. Now, you all might say, why is that important? I'm going to tell you, that was so devastatingly important. And the reason it was so important is because that created a magnificent control system that has never been duplicated. Never been duplicated. As a matter of fact, it's only been replicated one time that I know of, and I'm usually pretty current on most issues in this country, psychological, sociological, historical, and educational in this country. Only one time it's been duplicated. It was duplicated in the 1950s. The communists duplicated it in Korea. They call it brainwashing. Now, you might ask, what is brainwashing? Now, typically, people in the 1950s, when it happened in the Korean War, we talked about brainwashing. See, now I was a safety and survival engineer for my squadron. I was in a Marine tax squadron. My primary responsibility was to teach my people how to survive. We had a school for brainwashing in Barbers Point, Hawaii. Teach them how to survive. What's brainwashing? Well, most people, at least the guys in the Marine Corps, they thought that brainwashing would be some kind of a inhumane way of treating people. There would be no less than pulling out fingernails, driving bamboo splinters between the joints, hanging people up in the cold and castrating them, what we call the Chinese water torture. But brainwashing was none of those things. It was none of those things. Brainwashing was simply a very sophisticated form of re-education. And see, for you all in the auditorium this morning, brainwashing, so you'll always remember, is nothing but group therapy run in reverse.
Whoa, that's heavy.
We always remember that. Now, the whole point of group therapy is to bring people together.
Right.
Brainwashing is to turn it backwards and scatter people apart.
Oh.
And that was very effective in Korea against our troops. And see, I'm going to show you the different parallel of what happened in 1710 and what happened in 1950, so you can understand the implications of what's happened to black folk in America. Otherwise, you can't deal with the issue. So in 1950, we had approximately 7,000 Americans in prisoner war camps in North Korea and China. 7,000 Americans have been captured and put into war camps before they were subjected to brainwashing. And after they were subjected to brainwashing, starting from the time they were captured Do you know that in that course of time, almost 4 years, we did not have one single solitary American prisoner to escape from a prisoner of war camp? That had never happened in the history of this nation. That you can contain that many soldiers in one or two places and never have one to escape. Not one escaped out of 7,000 in almost 4 years. And to tell you the truth, in some of those camps, they didn't even have fences or walls up.
Whoa.
Some of them didn't even have guards. And our people could not escape because of the techniques of brainwashing that was used on them.
Serious mind
You
control.
know, what was happening to them? They were being devastatedly re-educated. And this is the same identical technique that was used in 1710 on black folk. The whole concept of integration was the same thing as today.
That's right.
They scattered them. Now, what happened in Korea? In Korea, we noticed certain kind of things were happening to the prisoners. They didn't act like prisoners anymore. See, when a guy when he was captured as a prisoner, the first responsibility was to try to escape, not to participate, not to cooperate with the enemy, not to compromise one's principles. But to always try to fight, resist, and get out, and to compete to help your own people to escape if you can. Didn't happen in Korea. Because you see, brainwashing, reverse technique of group therapy, first of all, what it did, it divided the soldiers against each other.
Right.
Divided the soldiers against each other. And there's a whole revolutionary principle that says that a revolution comes when two people get together and begin to conspire. You can never have a revolution or an insurrection on earth as long as you drive a wedge between the first two people.
Whoa.
You drive a wedge between the first two people, you'll never have a revolt.
That's heavy.
And in Korea, we never had a revolt. Secondly, people can only organize if they get together.
Whoa.
But see, what the communists did, they started an information system, a squealing system, an informing system. And what we found in Korea was they had the most massive, widespread information system ever on earth, where people were recognizing other people or identifying other people who were planning on escaping. And what the communists were doing was telling people, look, you all got a responsibility now as a prisoner. If you hear about another prisoner talking about escaping, it's your responsibility to inform on him and tell on him.
Whoa.
And if you do that, we'll reward you.
That's what the white people
You get
say.
a candy bar and apple.
If you see it, report it. They pushing
Once
that
that
heavy.
happens, you see, pretty soon, the soldiers didn't know who to trust anymore.
Right.
They didn't know who to tell anything to. If he was planning on escaping, who did he tell? He didn't know when the other guy's going to turn him in for a reward.
Right.
And so the organization broke down. They quit communicating and sharing information to each other. But all of a sudden, you were planning on escape. Next day, someone drags you out in the cold, strips you down, and pours ice water on you at 26 below zero because somebody just turned you in for an apple and a piece of candy.
Damn.
And see, that's what happened in meritorious manumission in 1710, when blacks were being rewarded for turning in other blacks.
And they doing it now.
See, also what it does is not only does it stops your communication, it stops your the ability to organize, but also it broke down what we have to have as a sense of community.
Right.
And none of those camps do they have a sense of community anymore in Korea. Without a sense of community, you have no way of doing the things that have to be done as a human being. And so in the prison war camps in Korea, all of a sudden the camps became filthy, the black camps. Nobody built latrines. Nobody made sure there was food and blankets passed out. Nobody took care of the sick. Because you don't have a community anymore. Without a community, you can't do anything. So we didn't have a community in Korea, in the camps. And out of 7,000 prisoners you had in Korea, almost half of them died. They didn't die because anybody shot them. They died from the fact that they were unable to function appropriately, to take care of themselves, to function as a community. They no longer had what you got to have and what black folk had taken from them through meritorious manumission. See, once you get a community, the next thing you must have above that is your trust.
Heavy.
You cannot have trust if you don't have a community. I always hear black folks say, Doctor, that's the only thing you say are true, but how can I get another black when I don't trust them? You don't trust them because you don't have a community.
That's deep.
And and above trust comes cooperation. But Doctor, I don't want to work with him. No, because you don't trust him. So it goes community, trust, cooperation.
Man, that's why I've been trying to tell y'all, this brother is serious, man. Man, and I mean, this is just a little short little taste that I wanted to give y'all because a lot of y'all ain't watched this lecture yet, and I've been pushing it to y'all for probably 6 months now. You know what I mean? Man, if you can learn and understand this, you gotta understand it, because once you understand something, you can then teach it to the next man. You know, man, watch this lecture. It's called Inappropriate Behavior. It's on YouTube. Watch the lecture, please.